My name is Ron Simpson, and I live in Waldo, Ohio. I've been raising pigeons pretty much ever since I was a kid. And it's kind of funny how I got started raising pigeons was I had a good friend that lived in my hometown that had hamsters. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up trading some of my hamsters for some of his pigeons. That's how I got started in pigeons. And then from there, just about every young boy in my hometown raised pigeons. And we started a pigeon club, and it was called the Richwood Pigeon Club Fanciers. And we had this club for about 2 or 3 years, and like anybody else that's had pigeons here in the United States, we all got interested in chasing girls and this, that, and the other. And so I got out of pigeons for a short time, got all my running around done, and was just bored, and I decided that I wanted to start raising pigeons again. So I decided to start raising fantails and show rollers. So I had both. I did really well with the fantails, did really well with the show rollers, but was trying to grow my business and just decided one day that I couldn't be good at both breeds. So I went ahead and I got rid of all my fantails and just stuck with the show rollers. And from there, I've had show rollers for about 30 years. I become a master breeder and a certified judge, and have showed show rollers all over the country, and I've done extremely well. Well, I accomplished just about everything I needed to accomplish in the show roller, so decided one day that I wanted to start raising another breed. We're going to walk in the loft now, and it's starting to get a little bit dark, but I'll just kind of follow me. I'll give you the nickel tour. This right here is my washroom. This is where I keep all of my medications. This is where I look at some of the birds back here. More medications over here, and then of course where I get my water from. And then, of course, this over here is my plaque wall, just some of the awards that I've won in this last 4 or 5 years. And all the rest of the awards I keep out in the barn, and maybe we'll go out in the barn here in a little bit. And then this first pen right here, this pen is all of my young show rollers, that my young early cockbirds that I raised this year. Then we come down a little bit further. This is my pen. These are my early young hens that I've raised this year. And then we've got some more conditioning pens over here. And as you can notice that on my floors, I have wire floors. This is to keep the birds clean. All the droppings drop through the loft, which is cleaner and more healthy for the birds, and it's also healthier for me. And of course, again, like I said earlier, it helps the hens from getting down and mating up and laying eggs, because it's very important with these show rollers. They're like bodybuilders. It's very important for them to carry a good, hard body. And so that's the reason for the wire floors. And then we're going to go back over here. These are some more young birds. Here's some birds that, these are some later hatch birds that are show rollers. And again, these are my baby show rollers over here. And then back over in this section of the loft, these are my old breeding muff tumbler hens. And we'll go ahead and we'll walk in here. And as you can see, these are some of the hens that I bred out of this year. And there's mostly what I have is reds, blacks, yellows. I've got a few bars, and there's a few other colors in here, but the reds, blacks, the yellows, and a few Andalusians is what I like to specialize in. Those are my favorite colors. May get into some other colors later on. And then we've got I've got a few bars that I play with also. And then, of course, this is one of my yellows up here. And then, of course, back in this back section back here is where I keep my, these are my breeding show roller hens that I bred out of this year. And then, of course, then I keep my cockbirds on the other side. And we'll walk over there after we get done looking at a few of the tumblers in here. Okay, so now we're going to go over here and we're going to look at some of the muff tumblers that I bred out of, some of the cockbirds. But before we do that, here's some of my judging cages. This is where I look at a lot of my show rollers, and also I look at a few of the muff tumblers here. But for the most part, when I'm looking at the muff tumblers, I put them in a little bit bigger cage, what we call an exhibition cage. And then we'll move over here to these are my muff tumbler cockbirds. And I'm getting pretty well down on them. There's not too many in here. But again, even in these is mostly blacks, reds, yellows, maybe a few Andalusian, and maybe a couple bars. And then back in this back section, back here in the back, these are my show rollers. These are my stock cockbirds that I bred out of. And then, of course, I've got mostly this stuff back here is some clean legs. I did start raising a few clean legs last year. I was fortunate enough to get a few good birds from Don Copeland, and my good friend Bob Whitty helped me out with some clean legs. And so anyway, I've tried my luck at those, but I don't like the clean legs near as well as I do the muff tumblers. And of course, there's down here below, there's I started raising some grizzles, which is kind of a rare color here in the United States for the muff tumblers. Plenty of clean leg blue grizzles, but not too many muff tumblers. So this is about my third generation trying to raise grizzles. These are birds that I raised this year. Of course, these are some birds in these cages that I'm going to let go of. And but this is my main section right back here. This is where I'm probably going to keep all of my young hens. And this year I kept my early hatches in this big pen back here. And then I've got one more pen back here. This is where I keep my baby birds. These are the birds that I raised this year that are fairly late hatch. We'll walk in here. These birds are still trying to finish. They're still molting. Not in the best condition, but of course they're young birds. But they're going to get a whole lot better. And there's just a little bit of everything in here. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to raise a khaki bar muff tumbler, which I've not been successful doing, but I was fortunate enough this year to raise a couple.